Once street legends, these Japanese motorcycles now sit untouched in showrooms. Prices climb, demand fades, and once iconic machines are slipping into extinction, victims of missed trends and dead evolution. Number 14. Honda CTX700. When Honda introduced the CTX700, it aimed to redefine what cruiser comfort could look like for the next generation. It came with a futuristic low-slung body and the option for a dual-clutch automatic transmission. But what was supposed to be a revolutionary blend of motorcycle, scooter, and touring machine ended up confusing the very riders it was meant to attract. The bike didn't look like a cruiser, didn't perform like a tourer, and lacked the raw simplicity that cruiser fans expect. Even fans of innovation couldn't figure out what exactly this machine wanted to be. Powered by a 671 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine, the CTX700 produced around 48 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque. It offered decent fuel economy and a smooth ride for urban commuting, but that wasn't enough to compensate for its vague identity. Its curb weight was about 475 pounds. It came with a low seat height of 28.3 inches, making it approachable for shorter riders. Braking duties were handled by a single front disc and rear disc setup, and the suspension included a 41mm front telescopic fork with a rear Pro Link single shock. The original price started at $7,600, with the dual-clutch automatic version costing around $8,000. While practical, the specs weren't exciting enough for longtime cruiser fans, and the appearance was too odd for traditionalists. But if you think Honda's only mistake was futuristic styling, the next bike proves even tradition can go wrong. Number 13. Yamaha VMax. Few motorcycles have ever matched the legend and presence of the VMax. It was built to dominate straight lines and deliver raw, unfiltered acceleration. The final version came with a monstrous 1,679 cubic centimeter V4 engine that generated a staggering 174 horsepower and 113 pound-feet of torque. For riders who craved muscle bike brutality, the VMax was once the king of the road. Its bold silhouette and sculpted air intakes were instantly recognizable, and for a long time it commanded respect across the motorcycling world. Weighing in at a heavy 683 pounds, the VMax wasn't designed for nimble cornering or technical riding. It featured dual front disc brakes, a single rear disc, and fully adjustable suspension with a 52mm telescopic fork up front and a rear single shock setup. Its ride was stiff and purposeful, tuned for high-speed bursts rather than smooth long-distance travel. The riding position was aggressive and leaned toward power cruising more than relaxed touring. Despite its road presence and sheer output, riders started to realize that the VMax was becoming obsolete in a world favoring lighter, smarter, and more agile machines. With a price tag near $17,000, many riders chose to look toward more versatile naked bike or full-sport touring machines that could offer a better all-around experience. The VMax fell victim to a shifting motorcycle market that now favors balance over brute strength. Yamaha eventually pulled the plug, but even after production ceased, unsold units lingered in showrooms, proof that even legends can age out of relevance. Raw power alone isn't enough anymore, and the next bike learned that the hard way. If you want to avoid these common mistakes, hit that like button and subscribe for more motorcycle tips. Stay with us. There's still more bikes on the verge of extinction to come. Number 12. Suzuki GSX 250R. Across dealership floors, this lightweight sport bike promised more than it could deliver. Marketed as Suzuki's entry-level competitor in the beginner-friendly sport bike class, it quickly found itself outpaced by sharper, more modern machines. With a parallel twin engine producing just 25 horsepower and displacing 248 cubic centimeters, the performance was noticeably underwhelming. It also generated only around 17 pound-feet of torque, leaving new riders disappointed when comparing real-world feel and acceleration. At nearly 400 pounds of curb weight, it was heavier than expected for the class, further dulling its appeal in stop-and-go city traffic. Visually, the design took cues from the GSX-R line, but looks were not enough. Riders comparing it side by side with bikes like the Yamaha R3, the Kawasaki Ninja 400, or the KTM 390. Duke found the GSX 250R lacking in refinement, responsiveness, and technology. It came with basic front telescopic forks and a single-disc brake setup on both ends, but lacked anti-lock braking system as standard in earlier years. The dash was analog digital, and the overall ride quality was firm, bordering on harsh over longer commutes. The seat height of just just under 31 inches was approachable, but the narrow handlebars and relaxed geometry made it feel more like a commuter than a true sport bike. With a starting price of $4,999, many new riders felt they could get more bike, more performance, and more resale value elsewhere. That perception has led to a growing number of these bikes sitting idle on showroom floors, quietly overlooked in favor of more exciting or versatile options. From too slow to too niche, the next bike proves even cool retro styling can backfire. Good bikes come and go, but good gear lasts. We've linked dependable jackets, gloves, and helmets in the description. Check them out. Number 11. Kawasaki Z650 RS. Retro appeal was the pitch. A fusion of 70s styling with 21st century performance, the Z650 RS was meant to be a stylish middleweight for riders who wanted classic looks with daily functionality. Yet something never clicked with buyers. Underneath its retro bodywork, the bike used the same parallel twin engine as the standard Z650, delivering 67 horsepower and 48 pound-feet of torque from a 649 cubic centimeter motor. While smooth and proven, it didn't offer anything new in terms of ride experience. For a bike marketed on uniqueness, that became a fatal flaw. Weighing in at 405 pounds, it was nimble but not distinctively so. Suspension was handled by a standard telescopic fork in the front and a horizontal backlink rear shock, both non-adjustable. Braking duties were taken up by dual front discs with 2 piston calipers and a single rear disc, offering predictable but uninspiring stopping power. The upright bars and relaxed seat height of around 31 inches made it comfortable, but again, not noticeably better than its sibling or competitors. At a starting price of $9,299, many potential buyers looked across the same showroom and chose the Z900 RS instead. That bike offered more power, more presence, and just enough additional value to justify the slightly higher price. In practice, the Z650 RS ended up feeling like the compromise nobody wanted to make. Too expensive for beginners, not special enough for veterans. Despite its charm, it struggled to find a defined audience. The next motorcycle had the opposite problem. It offered too much tech and too high a price. Number 10. Yamaha MT10 SP. There are motorcycles built for daily riding, and then there are machines designed to overwhelm your senses. The SP version of the Yamaha MT10 falls firmly into the second category. This bike was engineered as the most advanced expression of Yamaha's naked Street Fighter lineup, loaded with performance upgrades that make it a beast on paper, but a tough sell on the showroom floor. With a price tag approaching $17,000, riders started asking the tough question, why not buy a used superbike instead? Under the tank, the MT10 SP is powered by a 1,004 cubic centimeter inline 4-cylinder engine derived from the Yamaha YZF-R1. It produces 165 horsepower and 84 pound-feet of torque. It is one of the most aggressive naked bikes ever made. This performance is matched with a suite of premium components: semi-active Uhlans suspension front and rear, a 6-axis inertial measurement unit with lean-sensitive traction control, and multiple ride modes. The chassis geometry is tuned for sharp handling, but it still retains a relaxed enough rider triangle for highway use. Braking duties are handled by dual front 320mm discs with 4-piston radial calipers and a 220mm rear disc. The bike weighs approximately 467 pounds fully fuel. Suspension is electronically adjustable with remote preload and dynamic damping that adapts in real time. The digital display is a full-color thin-film transistor unit, and cruise control, quick shifter, and a slipper clutch are all standard. High performance might scare away casual riders, but for the next bike, the issue was the total lack of clarity. Number 9. Honda Goldwing DCT Tour. Few motorcycles carry a legacy like the Goldwing. For decades, it has symbolized long-distance comfort, bulletproof engineering, and premium touring. Yet in recent years, something changed. The DCT Tour trim, equipped with a dual-clutch transmission, pushed the boundaries of pricing and identity. Retailing for over $30,000, it entered a strange space between motorcycle and luxury car. And while the performance and comfort are undeniably elite, longtime riders have not embraced the change. Powering this heavyweight tour is an 1,833 cubic centimeter six-cylinder engine, delivering 125 horsepower and 125 pound-feet of torque. It is a horizontally opposed flat six, delivering power with unmatched smoothness through a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. The DCT system allows for automatic and manual shifting without a clutch lever, creating a seamless, quiet ride. While it sounds great on paper, some riders have said it takes away from the experience. The bike tips the scales at 892 pounds wet with electronically adjustable suspension, including a double wishbone front end and Pro-Link rear shock. Braking is provided by dual 320mm front discs with 6 piston calipers and a 316mm rear disc. Though the ride is incredibly smooth and packed with technology, many longtime Goldwing fans prefer the traditional manual version, especially at lower price points. The DCT Tour sits in showrooms longer, not because it lacks quality, but because it challenges what a touring bike should feel like. If the Goldwing was too luxurious for some, the next entry was too weird for everyone. Number 8. Honda NM4. There was a time when Honda dared to break all the rules, and the NM4 was the result. First unveiled as a concept and then pushed into limited production, this machine looked like it came straight out of a science fiction movie. The aggressive fairings, long wheelbase, and feet-forward riding position gave it the nickname the Batman bike. But most riders just did not know what to make of it. Its design alienated traditional cruisers and confused sport bike fans. Underneath all the plastic, the NM4 used a 645 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine producing 54 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque. That powertrain came from the XT250 platform and was paired with Honda's dual-clutch automatic transmission. It was smooth and convenient, especially in traffic, but never felt powerful enough for a machine this visually aggressive. At 561 pounds with a wheelbase of 64.7 inches, it was more tourer than city bike. The front brake used a single 261mm disc with a 2-piston caliper, and the rear had a 240mm disc. Suspension was handled by a 41mm front fork and a single rear shock with spring preload adjustability. With a seat height of 25.6 inches and a fuel capacity of 3.1 gallons, it was manageable, but the ergonomics and styling turned off potential buyers. With a starting price of $10,999, riders simply asked why. And for Honda, that question never found an answer. Let's shift from futuristic missteps to a bike that had heritage but no audience. Number 7. BMW R9T Pure. For riders who admired the classic boxer silhouette and nostalgic BMW design, the Pure trim was supposed to be a minimalist dream. But instead of winning over new fans, it became a cautionary tale about cutting too much. The R9T Pure offered a stripped-down version of the more premium R9T, sacrificing key features to bring the price down. Yet it still cost more than many better-equipped bikes from Japan. Enthusiasts respected the platform, but they were not willing to compromise just for a badge and a bare-bones spec sheet. This bike was powered by an air and oil-cooled 1170 cubic centimeter boxer twin engine that produced 110 horsepower and 86 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are impressive on paper, but the Pure lacked creature comforts like a windscreen, ride modes, or even adjustable suspension. Its dry weight came in at 489 pounds, and it used 43mm telescopic front forks with no adjustability and a rear monoshock with preload and rebound damping. Braking was handled by dual 320mm discs up front with 4-piston calipers and a single 265mm rear disc. The seat height was 31.7 inches and fuel capacity stood at 4.5 gallons. With a base price of $12,195, many riders just stepped up to the full R9T or moved on to other brands entirely. It tried to walk a line between classic charm and stripped-down practicality, but in the end, it pleased no one completely. From minimalist to misunderstood, our next bike couldn't even figure out what kind of ride it wanted to be. Number 6. Yamaha XSR700. In a world where every motorcycle segment is crowded, the Yamaha XSR700 was supposed to stand out. It had all the right ingredients on paper: a retro-inspired design, a proven parallel twin engine, and a nod to Yamaha's heritage. But instead of finding its own identity, it got lost in the shadow of its sibling, the MT-07. Riders consistently favored the MT-07 for its sharper styling, better ergonomics, and lower price. That left the XSR700 sitting in dealerships, appealing only to a small niche of riders who wanted old-school looks without going full vintage. Beneath the retro tank is a 689 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine producing 74 horsepower and 50 pound-feet of torque. The XSR700 shares its engine and frame with the MT-07, but comes with a more upright riding position and vintage-style bodywork. It weighs 410 pounds, and its seat height measures at 32.9 inches. Braking is handled by dual 282mm discs with 4 piston calipers in the front and a single 245mm disc in the rear. The suspension consists of a non-adjustable 41mm front fork and a link-type rear shock with preload adjustability. The riding experience is smooth, light, and confidence-inspiring, but with a starting price of $8,899, it often gets passed over for either more modern-looking naked bikes or fully committed retro machines with more personality. It was never a bad motorcycle, just one that failed to carve out its own space. Speaking of underperforming middleweights, the next bike tried to mix cruiser vibes with scooter tech and paid the price. Number 5. Suzuki Katana. There was a time when the Katana name meant danger, edge, and street credibility. So when Suzuki announced its return, many older riders were thrilled, expecting a bold combination of performance and heritage. Instead, what they got was a styling experiment with a recycled frame and components that didn't push the envelope in any direction. While the bodywork paid tribute to the iconic 80s lines, the rest of the package felt oddly disconnected from what modern riders actually wanted. It was not light enough to appeal to younger enthusiasts and not aggressive enough to tempt those looking at true ladder-class sport bikes. Underneath the bodywork was a 4-stroke, liquid-cooled inline 4-cylinder engine displacing 998 cubic centimeters. It delivered 148 horsepower and 78 pound-feet of torque, which might sound solid on paper, but it was nothing new for Suzuki's leader bike platform. The Katana also carried a wet weight of 474 pounds, and its suspension system included a fully adjustable 43-inch inverted front fork and a rear link-type monoshock. Braking came from dual 310-inch front disc with radial mount calipers and a single rear disc. It all sounded decent until riders compared it to the price, $13,499. From one misfired revival to another, the next bike had retro looks but nothing fresh underneath. Number 4. Kawasaki W800. There was a time when classic styling alone could move a motorcycle off the showroom floor. The W800 is one of those bikes that looks like it rode straight out of the 1960s, with its sculpted tank, wire spoke wheels, pea-shooter exhaust, and clean retro stance. It should have been a nostalgic slam dunk for older riders. Instead, it found itself parked and passed over. The problem wasn't the design, it was everything behind it. While it promised that old-school feel, it came with a price tag of $9,900 in performance that didn't match its cost. The air-cooled vertical twin engine delivered just 47 horsepower, with a displacement of 773 cubic centimeters and only 46 pound-feet of torque. In a world filled with high-tech alternatives, this output wasn't enough to satisfy riders looking for substance behind the style. The W800 uses a telescopic front fork with 41 millimeters of travel and twin rear shocks that favor comfort over cornering. Braking is handled by a single 300 millimeter disc up front and a 270 millimeter disc at the rear. Adequate, but not performance-oriented. Weighing in at 496 pounds with fuel, the bike feels heavy for the power it puts down. It's not light enough to flick around on back roads and not powerful enough to feel thrilling on highways. Buyers started looking elsewhere, to more affordable options like the Royal Enfield Interceptor or more advanced alternatives like the Triumph Street Twin. Even Kawasaki fans began to turn away, not because they disliked the bike, but because they couldn't justify it. Let's steer back to Japanese ground with a sporty model that no one could quite figure out. Number 3. Honda CBR 650R. It looked like a home run on paper. a sharp, aggressive middleweight sport bike from Honda, paired with comfort-minded ergonomics and everyday usability. Riders expected the 650 to carve a permanent place between the track-hungry 600 Supersports and the upright, naked Street Fighters. But instead, the CBR 650R found itself stuck in a strange middle ground. It lacked the razor-edge dynamics of race replicas, but also didn't offer the tech, weight savings, or value that buyers wanted. Powered by a liquid-cooled inline four-cylinder engine producing 94 horsepower and rated at 649 cubic centimeters, the bike delivers 46 pound-feet of torque on paper. That is solid for the class. It weighs around 450 pounds wet and comes with a Showa separate function fork big piston, front suspension, and a rear monoshock adjustable for preload. Braking is handled by dual 310mm discs up front with radial mount calipers and a single 240mm disc in the rear. All of this is packaged into a motorcycle with a starting price of $9,999. Despite its solid specs and smooth engine, the CBR 650R was never seen as thrilling. Riders looking for commuting comfort often leaned toward cheaper twins. Those looking for track weapons went all in on sharper 600 class machines. And in between, the Honda quietly faded. The result? A well-rounded machine without a loyal audience. And for a company like Honda, that spells quiet extinction. Now we're heading back into the dirt with a fan favorite that was instantly forgotten the moment a better version arrived. If you're learning something new, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more insights into the bikes that are disappearing off the market. Number 2. Yamaha XT250. Some bikes build a cult following slowly over time. The XT250 did just that. Riders who wanted a no-frills dual sport they could ride to the trailhead and back home again praised its durability, simplicity, and legendary reliability. It was never flashy, but it was dependable. Lightweight and street legal, it did the job without fuss. Yet by 2024, even its die-hard fans admitted it was showing its age. With a modest air-cooled single-cylinder engine producing 19 horsepower and displacing 249 cubic centimeters, the XT offers just 15 pound-feet of torque. It weighs around 291 pounds wet, with a front telescopic fork and a preload adjustable rear monoshock suspension system. Brakes are a single 221mm disc up front and a 190mm disc in the rear. Seat height stands at 31.9 inches. The starting price for the XT was $5,399 before it began to disappear from dealer lists. For riders starting out or those needing a reliable backcountry partner, it was once ideal, but the industry evolved. Competitors began offering dual sports with electronic fuel injection, better suspension, digital displays, and stronger engines, often at a similar price. The XT's carbureted engine and outdated components suddenly felt like liabilities. And when Yamaha introduced more modern alternatives overseas, fans began to suspect the end was near. Despite its once loyal following, the XT250 became the kind of motorcycle you inherited, not one you actively sought out on the sales floor. Now most of them sit on the used market or forgotten in warehouses, waiting for a new home that may never come. And now, the #1 Japanese motorcycle model on the verge of extinction. Number 1. Yamaha WR250R. Among dual sport riders, few bikes are spoken of with more affection than the WR250R. Built with the reliability of Yamaha's dirt legacy and engineered to be street legal, the WR quickly became a cult classic. Lightweight, well-suspended, and dependable, it appealed to serious trail riders who still wanted to ride home without a trailer. But in typical Yamaha fashion, it was discontinued quietly and never properly replaced. The WR came equipped with a liquid-cooled, fuel-injected single-cylinder engine producing around 30 horsepower and displacing 250 cubic centimeters. Torque figures clocked in at 17 pound-feet. Wet weight was approximately 296 pounds, with a fully adjustable 46mm inverted front fork and a rear monoshock with adjustable compression and rebound. Braking was handled by a single 298mm disc up front and a 240mm disc in the rear. The seat height stood at a tall 36.6 inches, making it a serious off-road tool rather than a beginner's toy. When it was still available in showrooms, the WR250R carried a starting price of $6,699. Its aluminum frame, premium suspension, and bulletproof powertrain gave it an edge that no other Japanese dual sport in its category could touch. But its price point scared off casual buyers. While competitors offered cheaper, softer dual sports for entry-level riders, the WR felt overbuilt and overpriced for the average street commuter. If you've learned something today about the bikes that are on the brink of extinction, make sure to comment below with your thoughts, hit subscribe, and like the video to stay updated on future motorcycle trends.